Whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got to get back in again now. So what time is it now?
Quarter to 11.
Okay. I'll have to crack on. I'll get a wriggle on then. Wait, while she sits down. So I'm Barbara. At least that's what they tell me I am. I'm not entirely sure because I was born at a very early age. And when they registered the details, I don't actually recall that. So basically it's hearsay from my parents as to who I am, what I am. A little bit about me. I was a teacher for a while, a primary school teacher. Went to horticultural college, so that was the things that I like doing. Was a primary school teacher for a while. I've had an off licence. I've had a 16th century village pub. I've been a dog groomer. I've had an outdoor catering company. I have to keep moving jobs, they keep catching up with me. I was in an abusive marriage for 28 years till I finally had enough and left. And then I went to live in Cyprus, where I started a restaurant which got featured in the top 10 guide to Cyprus. Started the first ever women's business network group out there, which phased the Cypriot men. They couldn't work that out at all. Brought out the first ever women's business network trade delegation backed by the UK government. So then they joined the EU, Cyprus, and crashed the economy. So that destroyed my business. So I came back to the UK. And since I've been back in the UK, I've lived in Southport, I've lived in Norfolk, Norwich, beautiful city. Then I moved down to Plymouth and lived there for a while, where I set up a new catering company. So I was doing personal chefing for country house parties, weddings and things, which was great until the lockdown, and that crashed the business. And then after lockdown, there was no joy left in it. People were just, we can't do this, and we've got people, no, not playing that game. So basically the government destroyed my business. So while I was being bored and trying to find out information, because I'm an information groupie, I started learning about Article 61 on the Magna Carta and thought there was some power in that maybe to get remedy from the government. But I then discovered along the journey that basically, although it was a peace treaty, and you can't dismantle a peace treaty, you can't take bits out of it. It's like trying to take the eggs out of a cake when you bake it, you can't do that. But the rules of that aren't in the same jurisdiction as we're playing in now. It's like trying to play the rules of cricket while you're on the rugby field. It's never going to work. So that was learning, but didn't really help. Then I started to hear about trusts and contract law and commercial liens. So I've been following this pathway of how this can give us some remedy. I've been learning about the difference between law and legal, which people confuse. They think they're the same and they're not. So that's where my journey has been. So what I will share with you, don't believe anything I say, for a start. Don't believe anything. Look it up for yourself and judge whether there's any merit in what I'm saying. You all seem fairly up to speed on a lot of things, so you all know about the fraud of birth certificate and the dual language, birth and birth. Yeah, so I'm not going to waste your time if you know more about that. It's just that the government, as we all know, capitalise. We put our names in capitals and they capitalise, which of course is monetise us. And you can actually check, you can go and check the CEST QV Trust documents. There's an act, the CESTA QV Trust Act of 16 QV.
So it's French, so it's C apostrophe EST de and then it's
QUE and then VIE. Okay, and that was from 1666.
So it says new word, de new word, k new word, VIE.
And that was snuck in when the Great Fire of London was raging. when the Great Fire of London happened and all the houses were lost, and people may have been lost too, the government in their kindness and generosity said, well, as we don't know where anybody is and we don't have all the documents for the houses, we'll hold everything in trust for these people who own these houses until they reappear and go, I'm not dead, I'm here, I want my property back. But they made it for the whole country. And it still stands. And basically what it is the government holds your land and titles in trust until you come back and say, I'm not dead. And you've got 7 years to do that, otherwise they go, well, it's ours. And when you're born, the government set up a trust for you. If you look at the Government Annuities Act, you'll see it's all there. You have to read it, but you have to understand what you're reading, because the language is such that you won't really understand it.
Is this true about the gold?
The gold?
Yes.
I'm not entirely sure. I haven't followed that.
This saying that you're worth your weight in gold.
Yeah, it quite possibly is, but I haven't found
I'd heard something
chapter
about
and verse on that.
The weight you were when you were born is what was
What they
there
put into
to
the bond.
provide for your payment for everything.
Yeah, because money has no value. There is no money.
No.
Well, it would make sense because there's this big fuss, isn't there, about when the baby's born. It's what did it weigh?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
such a big fuss about it.
It probably is, but my understanding is, I shouldn't say understanding, should I? My belief is that there is a trust set up for you, and money is placed in that trust until you are, of course, they have to pay for schools and while you're little and you're not earning. And that trust is floated on the stock market. If you go to GMEI Utility, there's a GMEI Utilities. Now, you used to be able to get on for free easily, but it's not so easy now, they've changed it. You can go and have a look, put in your national insurance number, and you can see how many companies have bought you on the stock market.
Yeah, I've done that.
Pages and
Hundreds.
something like 460,000 companies.
Something like that, yeah.
Because you are a stock, you are stock. Just the same as a cow. Cows in the field are the farmer's stock, and he milks them during their lifetime. We are milked for tax. And when you're born, if you're born to a wealthy family, you're probably going to go to university and have a better profession, so you're probably going to be worth more as a taxable person. Person is not you and me. Person is a company. So they're going to milk you for all they can during your lifetime. But of course, as we're slaves, we have no money. They had to provide for us. So my comprehension is that this money was put into trust for our benefit, except that instead of us being the beneficiaries, we've been made the trustees. So we have to pay. Again, they're supposed to pay all our living costs because we can't pay. We haven't got any money.
That's why it's called repayment.
Yes. How can you repay something if it's already been paid? You're paying it twice. They're double dipping. So when you're born and you've got your birth certificate, it says who is the informant. Your mother is the informant. So, and you are given anything that's registered. When you register a baby's birth, Regis is given to the Crown. So you become a ward of, we're all wards of state, which is why social services can come and take children away from their parents and it's not kidnap. They don't do it for Romany families or travellers because they don't register their babies. So in the old days they used to register a birth in the family Bible, didn't they? Or in the church.
I saw something about that the other day, and they were saying if they come to you and say, "Are you the parents?" If you say yes, but you don't say you're the parents, you have to say, "I'm the mother,
yes,
and this is the father."
That's right.
And they made out as though that could stop them from taking them away.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it can or not.
And again, it's a play on words. Parents, pair, rents.
Yeah.
Pay rent. The two that have birthed this child, you get to pay rent for it and keep it till it can be earning its own money. It's marvellous. So, having discovered all of that stuff, I then started looking at the government and discovered there was a Baron David Ward. You heard of Baron David Ward, who he had a parking ticket and he got annoyed about it, and he decided to challenge the council, I think it was, that had given him this parking ticket. And during his research, he kind of discovered that the government and the council were not what we thought, and they don't own the land. Who owns it? Who paid for it in the first? It was just taken by the people who had the biggest sticks. So he challenged and he won against the council. They eventually backed down and he won, but he followed a process which showed that the government is not what we think they are. I always thought the government was a group of kindly people full of lots of people who wanted to do the best for us and look after us and administer laws that kept us all safe, and that every 4 years we had an election and we go and pick the one whose ideals matched ours closest, and that when they got in they would administrate and keep us all safe and look after the money and keep the road. Oh, nothing like what I thought it was. So I've seen enough evidence now to realise that the government is just a corporation, a company. Just like McDonald's, just like the golf club, just like any of the supermarkets, they're just a company. And so they have no more right to tell us what to do than anybody else. If the Truro Golf Club said on a Sunday everybody must wear pink and yellow stripy socks, you would go, well, I'm not a member of the golf club. Your rules don't affect me. Nothing to do with me. You can't dictate my life because I haven't joined in. And Theresa May stood up in Parliament many times and said, government govern by consent.
They govern by what, sorry?
Consent. If you agree to be governed by them, then you must follow their rules. But once you discover that you're not dead, and you don't want to be in there, because if you've not told them you're not playing in their games, then they assume you are. It's a contract. So you write and tell them. There are 7 different people that you write to and say, I am not. There's a form, paperwork, and you write and say, I'm not dead. I'm not playing your games anymore. I'm a living man or woman. And again, this is where it's important that we are men and women. We are not unicorns, penguins, persons, they, them. And I think that's part of the drive towards getting people to not be man or woman.
Exactly.
Because you need to be man or woman to write to these people and say, I am a living woman.
Yes.
You can't write and go, I am a living they, them. It's meaningless, and you won't get your rights back. We all have inalienable rights. So, what you can do is you write to the seven folks at the top. You write to the King. You write to the Chief of the Metropolitan Police. You write to the Prime Minister. You write to the Attorney General. You write to the Archbishop of Canterbury.
We'll put all this up on the group.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a place you can go and get all this information, and you send this letter off, the notification to say, I'm not dead, I'm alive. Mostly they'll ignore you. Occasionally there's...
If you do you have to do it by registered post?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Can you do it by email?
no,
No.
it has to be
It has to be with the post office.
Have you
Written.
done it?
Yes, I've written. Yeah. Mostly you get Kevin, the paralegal at the Met Police, who writes back and says, but you're still a citizen. And you go, no, I'm not. I'm not a citizen. I'm not a person. I'm a living woman. But mostly they ignore you. But it doesn't matter. You've done it. You've got a copy of it. You've registered it. So that's the first thing that you need to do. And
is there kind of sample letters that you
yes,
can
yeah.
do? So we'll put links to all that.
Yeah. Having followed various different people, the man that I found that I believe he's very trustworthy. I haven't seen anything yet that he's done that I wouldn't feel good about and feel good about recommending him. He's called Peter Wilson. You might know him.
I've seen him, yeah.
Yeah.
I follow
Yeah.
him, yeah.
And I know that he puts hours and hours of time in to help people. He's been to court with people and help them get off charges, and he spends a fortune learning and then sharing it freely.
There's a lot of stuff. Of his
There's
on
a lot.
YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot. And he has a website, Contract Law, which I'll give you. He's got all the paperwork on his site, so you can go and you can download the paperwork. It tells you how to do it all. You send it off. Something else I discovered was that you know, we all think when we pay council tax, those who pay it, that it's used to keep the roads repaired, and it pays for the police, and it pays for nurses and doctors, etc., etc., etc. And I was shocked to discover about the police, because I thought the police are public servants. They're there paid by us. They are supposed to look after us, and their job is to protect and serve. Well, you think about G4S, that's another sort of security company who move prisoners around and whatever. That's a private company with shareholders, and they're not policemen. So then I was amazed to discover that Devon and Cornwall Police is a company. So I'm thinking, well, you can't be a public servant and a paid employee of a company at the same time. Who are you answerable to? Because the private company has shareholders and they want money. Ooh, we get fined an awful lot of things for an awful lot of things, don't we? And burglaries, they haven't got any police to come, because where's the money in that for them? So they're not policemen anymore, they're policy men. And they come out to take you for fines, and they are answerable to the shareholders, not to you and me. They're not paid for by us. And every police force is the same. If you go to Dun and Bradstreet, you'll find the registration numbers of all the police forces. Metropolitan Police, Her Majesty's Courts and Tribunal Service is a company. So how can you get justice from a company where there's shareholders? Are they following the law?
All the central banks are a company.
Yeah, yeah. Her Majesty's Treasury is a company.
When they were sending
got
out
the registration number.
COVID fines,
Yeah.
somebody looked up they came from
it's
a
a company,
company,
yes.
and they looked it up, and the directors were chief constables.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're not fines, they're invoices.
Yeah. Yeah. So the only thing really that happens when we vote somebody into government is all we're doing is changing the CEO of the company. No wonder our lives don't ever change, depending on which team gets in. It makes not a scrap of difference. I'm beginning to think Guy Fawkes had entirely the right idea. So yes, I started learning about trust law. Everything is trust. And once you start to learn about that, here's where we get some protection. And I started to learn about contract law as well, which is really useful stuff. And again, Peter Wilson, if you go to his page, there's loads and loads of videos, and he'll teach you about this, and he explains it really well. He's a Geordie, he's a lovely man. So, having done my notification to the government that I'm not dead, I then decided to follow this information about trusts. And what I've discovered is, and what I've done, is I have set up my own private expressed trust. Right? It's expressed because I've expressed it. And I have it in writing too, and I've sent it to myself via the postal service. And in that private trust, I have now placed every possession that I have. My car, my cats, you can put your children in there, every stick of furniture, everything. I own nothing, and I am happy. But but I control it all. And what you can do, and Peter's got all the paperwork, you create your own private expressed trust, in which you put every asset you've got into that trust. You're the creator of the trust, and you can be the beneficiary. You can be two. A trust is a triangle. You can be two of the 3 points. So you can be two of the triangular shape. Right. You can be the person who sets up the trust, the grantor, and you can be the beneficiary.
Right, because if the police can do it, we can as well.
Yeah, and you need someone to be a trustee. Right. You can use your all capital name to be a trustee if you want, but it's better to have somebody at some other
So
person.
just say with me and my wife, we would set up a trust separately.
You can do a joint one.
Yeah.
But everything is now in that trust.
Because they say this about the cars, don't they?
Yeah.
You don't know your car.
No, it tells you on the. It tells you on
This
the.
is why I haven't done it yet, because I have no understanding. I can't understand
No.
this.
No.
This triangle. I still don't really understand
It tells you
What
on here,
you've just
doesn't it?
said, it doesn't make
This
any
document
sense to
is not
me.
proof of ownership.
Yeah, yes.
So what
Well, who
happens
owns it then?
when
I
that-
paid for
Yeah.
it.
What happens when that goes in your car goes in the trust? Do you still have to fill in forms for DVLA and what have you?
People are now trying to take their cars completely back. I haven't heard of anyone who's done it completely successfully. But what you can do is, and now I've just moved house, what I will be doing is sending this back. I'm going to transfer it to a new keeper. And the new keeper will be the trustee,
Yeah, which is you.
which is me,
Yeah.
unofficially. It'll be trustee, and it'll be of my private trust.
So you'll have your
So
name
there'll be
on
no
that form.
name when
Yeah.
this comes back. There'll be no name attached to this car.
Right, but you'll put,
So if
they'll
I
have-
get
they'll
go,
have to
if
know
I
it's from
accidentally
you.
speed,
Yeah.
You'll
which I
put
wouldn't
your name
do.
on because it's from you, but you'll put yourself as the trustee.
I'll just put trustee as the new name. I've got a friend who's done this recently and it's come back fine.
Yeah. 'Cause I
So
was just thinking
if you
about this the other
accidentally
day.
get fined for driving too fast, then they can't trace you. They
Yeah.
can only get as far as the trustee, and the trustee will write back and say, "This is an asset of a private trust. I'm not allowed to give you any details. It's in a private. Private gives a clue. Can't give you any details."
Sounds better by the minute.
But again, you know, should you be unfortunate enough for bailiffs to try and come and take your car for any reason, they can't because it's not linked to you. It's only linked to the trust. So
And
you
then-
put
so
it
they can't
into the
take
trust.
anything you
Can't
own
take
because-
anything. You have nothing. You have no
This
possessions
would be handy when my
whatsoever.
sister tries to sue me. I will-
Yes, yeah.
I didn't think bailiffs were allowed to enter your home anyway.
No, they do if you open the door or open the window. Then you've given them access. Yeah, but you don't want to have to go through that.
No, you want to
You
make
know,
it
you want
simple.
to be able to say, "There's a waste of time you coming because I have nothing. Everything is owned by the private trust."
This is what the rich do, so why
That's
don't we do it?
exactly.
Yeah.
And then you put your secondary beneficiaries as whoever, your children, if you still love them. You know, you pick your favourite one, pick them on me. But
that
then,
mean if you own
when
your own
you
house
die, when
Yeah.
you shuffle off this mortal coil, there's no probate
And no
because
capital
nothing
gains.
has changed.
Exactly.
The second beneficiary continues to be a
inheritance, cat tax.
beneficiary. There's no inheritance, there's nothing. Because nothing has changed. The second beneficiary simply steps up to the next position.
I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it.
And it's very straightforward. The paperwork is really straightforward. So you fill it all in, you send it to yourself.
Too late to do it for my mother-in-law because she's got Alzheimer's and she won't be deemed as
yeah.
being
Yeah,
sound
That's
mind.
true, yeah.
quite.
So
So that's one of the first things you can do. Lasting power of attorney, you should do that as well, so that you have expressed in writing to the government. I know we don't like to play in their field, but sometimes we need to. So you have to use their paperwork.
But there are two, aren't there?
There's one for finance and one for health. Yeah. So
So you have to do two.
So you're saying
You-
that you've got to pay to do it.
yes.
it's about
Yeah, so
£500,
there's
I
no
think.
getting
isn't it?
out.
unless
Them
you're
doing
on
what they want
benefits
to do.
or
That's
you're an
the
old age
way.
pension, there's reductions for that. But then you express in that your wishes. Should you be unfortunate enough to be in a car crash, for instance, and you get carted off to A&E, and they go, "Oh, she's not been jabbed while she's here." Well, no. They can't touch you. They can't do anything to you without, and you can have somebody there all the time to make sure they don't give you any nasty
Right.
things that you don't
So
want.
you express this in your power of attorney.
Yes.
In both of them.
Yeah.
The trouble is, if you're in an accident and you're the only one, and you've got no documents or you're unconscious,
Yeah.
then what?
Tricky one. I would imagine it would be a good idea to have something in your
Carry it
in
with
your
you.
purse.
Yeah, carry it
Yeah.
with you.
Carry it in your purse.
Put it on your
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
put it, have
Sandra
one of those
does. Yeah,
bracelets and
Sandra
have it
does.
all
Sandra
in-
carries
Yeah.
all her
We could have
bracelets.
we could have a barcode tattooed on.
Yeah.
We want
Yeah.
my tip next.
Yeah, or a little chip under the skin.
Yeah. Here we go.
Well, they want you to have that. Anyway, don't they?
The other thing you can do is go to what's it called? Did I write it down? You can get newworldalliances.com. That's a website.
New World Alliance.
newworldalliances.com. And what you become, you ask them, you have to pay. It's not a lot of money. You become a peace ambassador.
Oh, yeah.
And this is set
Oh,
up
I
by a
haven't seen
chappie
this
who
one.
has been an ambassador and worked at the United Nations. He's South African, but he's very much awake. And you can get a little card. You download the information, you print it on a card for yourself, which makes you a peace ambassador. Now, Peter has got one of these, and he fell off his bike a few months back. The road was slippy, and he went and broke his shoulder, collarbone, and his ribs. Went to hospital, and they were all, put a mask on, you can't come in without a mask. And he's, no, they laughed at him. They were all getting stroppy. He brought out his peace ambassador card, which is a diplomatic status. And he said, I don't wear a mask. And they looked at it, and they took it off, and
They wouldn't know what to do with it.
they did.
They did?
They came back. He was ushered straight into a private room. Would you like a cup of tea? Would you like us to bring you a sandwich? Is there anything else we can do for you? He was seen straight away. And he could hear the nurses shout, put a mask on. They never said a word. He was in for quite, and then he got bitten by a dog. He was rescued, and he had all his arms.
This could be useful for Graham. 'Cause he's
He
got
was
to
in for
remember
about
the dog.
10 days, and he was treated like a diplomat, treated like royalty. And you can use it if you have to travel, if you want to go abroad. Like people had it when lockdown was on.
Oh, is this what all
And
the
they went to
troopers
France.
must have got? Because they were flying all
Yeah,
over the world.
They went to France, a family went to France, they got to the, and they were all hysterical because people were coming, and they showed them the diplomatic pass, and they just went through. Go through.
I like the sound of this.
Yeah, I do too.
Go
Yeah,
through. It's about
it's
£34, £35. It's not.
worth that, isn't
Go
it?
off too.
Oh yeah.
So go on the site, have a read about the man who set it up. Somebody Swale, I think he's called. Read what he's put, why he set this up. If you ever get stopped or there's any trouble, he comes down on them like a ton of bricks, a diplomatic ton of bricks. So
They get away with blue murder, don't
yeah.
Well,
So you might as
exactly.
well have
they
it
get
too.
away with murder,
Yeah.
don't they?
They've been taken out of the country.
That was that.
Yeah.
There was a car crash
Yeah.
where somebody died, wasn't they? And they went back to
So what are
America.
they
and
called?
Yeah, it's newworldalliances.com. Go and have a read, and
I love angelic numbers.
Yeah.
And I open that up as 1111.
oh, very good.
So New World.
Alliances.com. Now the other good bit of news is about commercial liens. Do you know anything about
I've got a friend, David Lacey. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's doing commercial liens on the bank of Lloyd's Bank.
Right. Oh yes, okay.
Is that links? Did you say?
Lean.
Lien.
Lien.
It's like an
Lien,
alternative
yeah.
spelling of when you lean on someone
Right.
who's done you harm. So you all know about a CCJ. If you don't pay your phone contract, they'll come after you and take you to court, and they'll try and fine you and try and take goods, because you've broken the contract. It's very hard to get remedy or get compensation. Like I lost my business. I've lost everything because the government locked us all down. There was no grounds for locking us down. It was all fake. So, it's all very well trying to get a CCJ against Boris Johnson. Where are you going to find a bailiff to go and knock on the door and say, we're coming to take goods because you've damaged her business and she wants compensation? It's not going to happen. And there's a lot of people been trying for a long time to find a way to hold these people accountable. And I'm working with a group at the minute who think that they have. So I'll explain. A commercial lien is the commercial equivalent of a CCJ, but you don't go to a magistrate's court or any court to do it. You do it yourself via paperwork, and your paperwork becomes a court of record. And it's a series of documents and notices that you send to whoever it is that's caused you harm, loss or injury, to say, you've caused me harm, loss and injury. Because of this, you've done this. Here's my evidence. You've now got 21 days to rebut this evidence, otherwise the evidence stands. Right? An unrebutted statement stands in law. So I've made a statement of fact. You have to say I'm wrong, otherwise in law it stands. So you there's a whole set of documents that you send off to whoever it might be, explaining what they've done to you and how much compensation remedy you require. So this has been going on now in the group I'm in for 2 years. The first batch have been done and completed. I don't think anybody came back at all with any paperwork. But of course the problem is at the end of it, what do you do with it? You still have the same problem that you're not going to find a bailiff to go and say to Matt Hancock, you destroyed my business, I'm claiming compensation from you. You can't do it, it's never going to work. What this group have done is to find a way to monetize that so that you can get some financial compensation for your damages. And that is from some private banks who are happy to take on and hold the document because they have more clout than we do. Okay, so it becomes a security that the bank will hold, and they will give you a percentage of it. They will hold it and they will use it in what way they see fit, but they will then give you a payout for that document. A lot of them are, yes, yeah.
I can't see them giving money out.
No.
There are some that do, or you can set up your own bank. I think that's what
You
the
can?
lady was doing.
Yes, you can. So some of these liens have been completed now, and I'm still waiting. Hopefully next week I'll hear some more news about where we're at with that. But it does seem that the first people will get paid a substantial chunk of money in the next few weeks. Huge money. But the group that are doing this, it's not just about getting back money. What they want us to do with the money is to keep some, but put at least half of it back into community projects. And what they're trying to do is set up community projects all around the country. Community hubs, whether it's just in a little office, whether it's a big farm, which is what I'm trying to get, where you have health hubs with treatment rooms where you help people to show them how to eat well instead of going getting a prescription. You know, if the prescriptions worked, why do you have to have them for the rest of your life? If the medicines work, well, they're clearly not working. And all the side effects from the medicines, then you have to have more medicines to count. Just madness.
Exactly.
So re-educating people about how to keep themselves healthy and using natural foods. I mean, the reason why they've tried to stop us having natural plants is because you can't patent a plant. You know, they can't own all the big pharma companies. You cannot own a plant, so they want to stop you having that. They won't have you have their medicines, which is, of course.
Patent a bug.
That's a good question. Yeah, and the other thing is to have education hubs too, so that we get the children out of schools. As an ex-teacher, I said 20 years ago, get your children out of schools. We're not teaching them anything that's useful. You know, we're not giving them skills for life. We're just channeling them down one route where they're taught not to ask questions, just sit there, don't ask questions, just obey. They're being put off education by the way that it's being delivered. It's all academic, there's nothing creative, and it's just all wrong. So, yeah.
It's getting more people aware, though, isn't
Yes.
it? Because there's so many that aren't.
No.
And when you say things to them, I mean, I said to this late friend of mine, I said, you don't actually have to pay council tax. Well, who's going to take our rubbish away? You know, and that sort of thing. You know, when I tried to explain to her, she says, you can't do that. What would happen if everybody did that? And I thought, it's no good talking to
No.
her, really.
No.
They'd have to change the
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too scary. It is too scary. They just go like this. I can't cope. It's too much. And I try not to tell anyone anything anyway. What I do if they come out with a statement, I'll say, oh gosh, that's good. Well, how do you know that's true? Well, because sort of. So, oh, well, how do you know that's true?
Saw it on BBC.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
because,
Well, this friend of mine, she's
you know,
awake.
eventually they run out of,
She's awake,
yeah,
but she
Yeah.
sort of says you can't do that.
no. But my recommendations are do your notice to the 7 sins to 7 and tell them that you're not dead. Then do your, you can do the two at the same time. Do your private express trust. If you've got a business, if you're in business of any sort, then you can do private members association. So you set yourself up as a private members association, bit like the Mormon Church have been doing for centuries, you know, and
Sorry, what was that again? Private?
private members association.
Yeah, 'cause
A
my
bit
mum
like
going
some of the
on to me.
gentlemen's clubs
Yeah,
down
yeah.
Mayfair, you know.
On that, but it could be. It's quite a big point.
Because if you have a private members association, and a lot of pubs have done this now, again through P3 will tell you, where you don't get through the front door unless you're a member. so you have to join. Might be £1 to join, whatever. But once you're in, you're on private land. Nobody else can come through that door unless they're a member. Okay? And if you have a plumbing business, for instance, and you set yourself up as a private members association, you don't have customers anymore, you have members. Right? If they want a job done, they're a member, and they don't pay you. They give a donation to your private members association bank account, trust account.
Oh, is this why the truthers say, buy me a cup of coffee?
Yeah, yeah. So the money goes into your private trust account for that private members association, and you don't spend that at all. You can't use it to pay for petrol or go to shopping or anything. However, you can apply on whenever you like to the trust for a loan. The loan is interest free and there's no repayment date. And it's in a private account. Private is private. It's HM, whoever they are, have no right to ask what's in that account. They can ask one, but they can't. They can't be told. It's private. This is recognised trust law. Trust law has been around for centuries.
And this is what all the elite do, is it?
Yes.
So as an individual,
Yes.
so me,
Yes.
as an individual, I can set up
Trust.
A trust,
a
a
trust
private members association.
and a private members association. So I've then got a bank account.
Linked.
Do I have to do I have to set up a separate bank account for that?
Yes.
Right. So I set
And
up
there are some banks who will
right,
do
so I
that.
set up a
There's-
separate bank
some
account.
banks want
okay, 'cause I have to get
£10,000
it-
for doing that.
I have to get it in my head, the order of doing things, because otherwise it's
Yeah.
especially just hearing it.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to see it in writing.
Well, what we'll
You-
try and do over the
do
next
this,
week
this
is
and
we'll
this.
get
Yeah. Go to
we'll write it
Peter's.
down
Go
and
to
put it
And
up on
Yes.
then, so just supposing, because I'm on benefits,
Mhm.
just supposing they want to look in they can't look in my bank account because it's private.
Yeah, correct.
Can they still pay it into that account?
Your benefits go into your normal account.
Yes, and then I move
It doesn't
it.
change.
No, and
Yeah,
then
you
I
can
would
move it across.
as a loan.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Well, you're unlikely to pay tax on your money that you're getting benefits.
No, I
are you,
know.
Sally?
No,
So-
no, no,
so
no,
you
no,
can
no,
keep
no,
that in
no,
your
no.
normal-
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No, I know that.
Yeah.
But you are limited as how much you can have in savings.
Exactly. So that
You
can
don't
all
want
go
any
up.
money in the banks
No,
anyway.
no, I don't want any money in the banks. But also they're very nosy, and I've had investigations where
Right.
they've just been that nosy that they've wanted to know everything.
Yeah.
But so I'm just thinking if that
Yeah.
ever, because I've had something else come at me
Right.
lately, and if it goes beyond, this is something that would be worth me doing
Sure.
actually to stop
You know
them.
that banks don't lend money. You know that banks don't take deposits.
Yes.
There's a lovely chap, Professor Richard Werner, who did an empirical study on this. Banks do not take deposits. Banks do not lend money.
They create money.
They create money.
Is he the
wrote
guy
down.
that sits in the chair?
No, that's
No,
Vernon
no,
Coleman.
that's Vernon Coleman.
Yeah. I got loads of
So-
his books.
Yeah.
In law, he says, there's no such thing as a deposit. Confused, aren't you?
Yeah.
So when you banks don't take deposits, they don't lend money, they borrow from the public and they issue promissory notes. I mean, a £5 note, it says I promise to pay. What's that mean? You go into the Bank of England with a £50 note and say, can I swap this for £50 worth of gold? You'll either get thrown out or arrested, or both. It's nothing. It's a worthless piece of paper. It's just on trust, that we all trust that it's worth. Of course, it isn't. So
I'm willing to take any of your useless banknotes.
yes,
I must admit, when they were saying you're not going to be able to spend them, I thought, oh, bugger me, because
Yeah.
I've got money out just in case,
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
so he says that banks purchase securities. That's
Okay.
what they do. That's what they're in the business of. They purchase securities. So if you go in and you want some money to buy a house, 200,000, and they'll say, right, okay, here's the paperwork, and you sign the paperwork. You've just signed a promissory note. Okay? If you write this, I am going to pay so and so and so and so this much money, and I sign it. I could do this now for you. That is worth whatever it says. you can come back to me and say, you've signed this is your writing, it's your signature, you've said I owe you, you can hold that against me, or you can give it to somebody else to try and chase me for it if you want, bigger and heavier. But when you sign that paperwork, any contract that you sign should be signed by both parties on the same day and witnessed. Except that
Never happens.
doesn't happen.
No.
You sign it on your own, and they say, thank you very much, we'll let you know, it'll take a few days. What then happens with that is, you have actually given a loan to the bank. You've said, I'm going to be paying you £200,000.
And then they're going to charge you.
They put that, they enter that as a deposit, even though it's not, on their accounts. Oh, we've now got another £200,000 come into the bank. And what they tell you about your money for your house is, you will find the money in your account. Don't say they transfer it. It's not transferred from anybody else, from anywhere else. Okay? So what they then do is, they've got this money on their inbox. They go on the computer and they put the money just on computer into your account. So now it's a loan.
What's going to happen?
And then you have to give them that back with interest. It's your money in the first place. It was your money. You've given a loan to the bank by giving them that paperwork. They've simply moved across and put it into your account, and then you get to pay it all back again.
Yeah. Repayment.
What are these people going to do when the interest rates go up on the mortgages?
There's a lot, well, they'll lose their homes.
Is there any way around that then?
Yes, we're working on that too.
Because that happened before, didn't
Yeah.
it? We ended up nearly losing our house because of it.
And then the bank, they bundle up a lot of these and they sell them off to hedge funds, because then they multiply that amount many, many times. The bank then just become administrators to collect the money for the hedge funds. Because if you go back and say, I want my original paperwork with my signature on it, they'll never give it you. They haven't got it anymore. They've shredded it. Because when they've sold it onto a hedge fund, you can't have the same asset in two different trusts.
But surely because the house owner hasn't got contract with whoever they sold it on to.
Well, yes, I know, there's an awful lot of corruption.
I
And
mean,
when
but
you
because
start to
they
learn...
haven't got a contract, can't they just turn around and say, I don't have a contract with that hedge fund, I had a contract with you?
Yeah, people can and people do, and that's how they're trying
But
to win these
99%
cases.
of people don't know that they can do that.
No.
I just wanted to know
Yeah.
though, if there
No.
is a way.
Yes,
that
there are people who are working on these ways where they say, give me the original paperwork.
Provided what, sorry?
They're asking for their original paperwork back. They want to see it.
But they're not going to get it.
They're not going to get it.
So if they can't get it, can they go ahead with it?
They are doing. This is one of the things that the group I'm in are doing right now.
Well, surely if they've had a contract with the bank, for instance, and they've got this paperwork that they've signed, and they can't have it back, then that loan that you get that no longer exists.
Yeah. Well, also, any contract that you signed where you were not given full disclosure
Yeah. Is null and void.
is null and void because it was fraud. So that's another angle that people are working on.
That's where we got all that, where we had all the protection on loans and stuff. But then
Yes.
a lot of people got money back from that.
That's
you
right.
know.
That's right.
I got a lot of money back from that, actually.
Yeah, I
Oh,
got
well
money back from that.
Yeah. But that's where I'm at now in my journey and what I'm doing, and I'll keep you updated on the liens as and when I know anything, because the idea is to to teach the liens to as many people as possible, so that each one of you can put your own lien in. And the first liens that have gone in, the amount that they're claiming, and I'll tell you the names of the people that they're being claimed from because it's now on a website. Patrick Valance, Chris Whitty, Matt Hancock.
That's David Leahy and
Yeah.
Michael O'Byrne.
No, it's not with him. No, but these people have been served,
Yeah.
and the amount that is being claimed is 67 million. Good. But you see, when the banks take the lien, they can then put a second charge on the properties and assets of these people. And the liens last for 99 years, and it passes on to the children of if they die.
If they've got theirs in the community trust, then
Yeah.
How do you get the money then?
The community trust, well, you will get
Witty and all that.
Yeah, they
Oh,
must
yes.
have all their stuff in
Private
trust and
trust,
protected
right.
by.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, but it just means that it buggers up their credit rating, and it's published that they have been served, and yeah, they will still have some things that they'll never be able to do anything with their properties.
But if enough people do this, then it's going to bring everything down, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Because they're parasites and they're not going to be getting money off people anymore.
No.
You know, I mean, I know I've heard people getting their money back from direct debits.
Yes.
Yeah, they go to
The bank.
right to the bank and
Yeah.
sort of say, I want this money
It was
back.
it was a
And
mistake.
I've been on sites where people said, I have got £8,000 back.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, people are doing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, they're saying it was a mistake. Yeah.
I think what it is, you've got to be confident enough to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because people hear about it and think, oh, I'd love to do that, but because I'm not sure how to do it,
No.
I don't want to sort of get myself in more
That's it.
trouble than ever.
But the thing is, as a group, we could do a group one
Yes.
together. You know, if
Yeah.
somebody's got a problem, we can do it and do the paperwork together. And when the letters come back, you can
I
bring
think
them and we
that's
can
what
open
you
them.
need, because I think it gives you the confidence then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, if someone checks it and said, oh no, you don't put that,
Yeah.
change that sort of thing.
Yeah.
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 I mean, this is one of the reasons why, Stand in the Park exists, and the People's Union that we've set up exists, to bring people together so they don't feel alone,
Yeah.
on everything. What I want for these local groups like the Cornish thing is, if anybody has a problem, like the bailiffs are coming round,
Yeah.
let us know and we'll turn up.
Yeah.
Get 100
Yeah.
people turn
With
up.
your
Just-
knife.
Yeah.
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 I mean, so that you've got that support.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it does make a big difference. There's a guy called Tony Wrench in Wales, and he built a house on in a what do they call them, the national park. In a national park, he built a house in a national park. But it was a very sustainable house, and he lost his appeal and everything. And the day that the bulldozers were going to come and tear his house down, like 200 people turned up and surrounded the house, and they refused to let them knock the house down. And in fact, Tony Wrench was going to knock his own house down. He said, right, I've lost, I'm going to knock my house down. And 200 people come and prevented him from knocking his own house down. And now, this has become part of the the sustainability, low impact building part thing in Pembrokeshire. You can now build an eco house in Pembrokeshire because of that, and they've got a picture of his house on the front of the fucking policy thing. Do you know what I mean? The house that they were going to knock down, and that's the power of people coming together
Yeah.
and saying no.
Yeah.
The people like the people you mentioned, Chris Whitty and all that, they think they are above the law.
Yes.
They think
Yeah.
that we can't do anything.
Yeah.
But actually, when we all start standing up,
Yeah.
watch the film The Ants.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, when the
Yeah.
ants. I mean, it's a children's film.
Yeah.
But
But
the
this
locusts,
new one,
the
yeah.
locusts are in control.
Yeah.
But but he says, when the ants realise that they outnumber us
Yeah. Yeah.
and they stand up,
Yeah.
then we're stuck. We're stuck. That's it.
The other thing I would recommend is this book. It's absolutely fabulous. It's dead easy to read.
All right.
It's about £18 off Amazon. Yeah.
I'll ask you in a minute as well about the website, because I'm not sure I
Sure.
found the right one. Because it's in dollars.
Right. Oh yes.
Let's just take a quick photo.
Because of course I thought democracy was we all get to vote, and whoever gets the most votes, that's democratic, because we've all agreed that the biggest team wins. It's not at all. It goes back to Hellenic Greece. So from the Greek demokratia, or demos, is the people, and kratos is sovereignty, and kratein is to rule. So democracy is the people's control of the government. If a law is unjust, the people should say, the law is unjust, you need to change it. And there's a, I don't know if you know about William Penn and William Mead in 1670. If you go to the Old Bailey, there's a big plaque. It used to be in your face when you first moved in. They've moved it to some hidden corner. But they were preaching, they were Quakers, and they were preaching, they were talking to people on the street. and they got arrested for doing that because what they were saying about religion didn't match with the current order of the day, and so they got arrested for preaching, and it went to court, and they said under common law this, that and the other, you've broken this law. And they said, well, what common law? Exactly what law? Oh, we're not going to explain it to you because it's too complicated. Well, as if it's common law, it must be common. It must be simple. Explain it. Can't talk to us like that. Anyway, it went to trial, and the jurors would not say that they were guilty. They said, no, this doesn't make sense. All they were doing was talking to people. You can't arrest someone and find them guilty for simply talking on the street. And they refused to come back with a guilty plea, and the judge was livid. And he had all the jury locked up for 2 days and nights in prison, no food or water. 3 times that they did that, and he kept saying, go back, you have to come back with a guilty. And they said, no, it's not guilty. And they wouldn't do it. And in the end, they got fined. He said, go back, you have to. And they said, we're not going anywhere else. It's not guilty, and we're not moving. So they got put in prison and they got fined. But they said the law is wrong. We don't, you can't accuse someone under a law that's wrong. And so that is what true democracy is. And William Penn eventually moved to America and founded Pennsylvania. But he says, that democracy is the people's responsible control over government and law through trial by jury. That's the only trial. Magistrates' courts are administrative courts, and they have no place. They have no
Jurisdiction.
No jurisdiction whatsoever. It's in the Queen's coronation oath. You cannot have administrative courts. But of course, who's going to stop them? Because they're so corrupt.
We are.
We are. Yeah.
These are some of the
And it's writing. It's to do with if we write things. The pen is mightier than the sword. Provided it's a very big pen and teeny little.
Yeah.
But yes, holding people to account through paperwork is far more effective, and holding the man or the woman to account. Not the minister. It's Matt Hancock acting as whatever he was when he was. We're going after the actual man or the actual woman, and it's happening more and more and more. But this is an absolutely brilliant book, fabulous. It's like, but who knew?
These are the ones we were saying about last week.
Oh yes,
That
yeah.
one. That was the straw man
Yeah.
one.
yeah.
Oh, no, that's
Yeah.
you got this one,
Yeah.
And policing the
I've got that
police.
one.
Yeah.
I've got that
Yeah.
one.
I know my rights and the Universal
Yeah.
Declaration of Human Rights.
Because
Well,
there's natural
Can we
law,
just thank
which is,
Barbara
you know,
for her
Yes.
talk, because it was
Yes.
absolutely
It was
fantastic. I
brilliant.
really enjoyed
Yes.
that.
Hope I've
Yeah.
given you
Yeah, very
some good
much
connections.
appreciated.
So